Meeting call to order. Public portion of the meeting begins. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the business administrator, board secretary, has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted on the bulletin board of the municipal building, communicated to the Hawthorne Press, the record, and filed with the clerk of the Borough of Hawthorne. Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo?
Here.
Ms. Goff? Here. Mr. Palooz?
Here.
Mr. Reicher?
Here.
Ms. Sanford? Here. Mr. Scarra?
Here.
Mr. Tara?
Here.
Mr. Turco?
Here.
Mr. Doyle?
Here. Would everyone please rise and join me for the pledge? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Meeting regulations. During each regular meeting, 2 opportunities are provided for citizens to ask questions and to make comments. During the first opportunity, early on the agenda, the meeting is open to the public for the purpose of addressing items listed for approval on this agenda only. Second opportunity occurs just prior to adjournment, when citizens may address any subject matter that is pertinent to and or directly related to the operation of the school district. Persons wishing to speak must, upon being recognized, rise, sign in, state their name, address, and subject matter. Comments and questions shall be addressed to the board president or the presiding officer and shall be limited to 5 minutes per person. The board may or may not respond to issues raised by members of the public at the time they are raised, but will provide a response if and when appropriate. The board asks that the members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Please note that the board will not respond to comments regarding students or board employees in light of the privacy rights held by those individuals. Moreover, the board discourages comments about such individuals and will not be responsible for such comments. Members of the public who choose to speak during the public session should carefully consider their comments, since they could be personally liable for any statements they make. Finally, please note that in accordance with district policy, the board will not officially comment or respond to any matter mentioned unless it can confirm that the matter has first been brought to the attention of the appropriate school personnel in an attempt to resolve the issue. That being said, public be heard, agenda items only. All right, seeing no one, we'll move on. Approval of the minutes, October 15, 2019, regular meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
Mr. Turco, seconded. Any comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Palooz?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford? Yes. Mr. Scarra?
Yes.
Mr. Tara?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes. All right, moving on to correspondence.
Okay, I'll just quickly highlight some of the things in Ava Tower, our student representative report. Bless you. A couple of things that I wanted to share that in her report. First of all, the Student Council is preparing to host the annual blood drive on November 21st. Juniors and seniors will be able to donate blood and give back in a unique way that truly saves lives. Also in November, the Hawthorne High School Media Center has created a Military Appreciation Month. There's a display in the Media Center. Any student or faculty member is invited to add to the display with a picture and or short biography of someone they know who has served or is currently serving in the military. Also in the Media Center this month, students were introduced to the new audiobook collection thanks to a grant from the Hawthorne Education Foundation, so thank you to the Hawthorne Education Foundation. The marching band wants to thank everyone who came out to the pasta dinner and supported our marching band. We appreciate their support. Fall sports have come to an end, and I would just concur with Ava's comments that we want to congratulate all of our athletes and all of our sports teams on successful seasons. We do want to just recognize that Danielle Diascoli of our tennis team won the county championship for second singles, so congratulations to Danielle. We also had some other teams that had some successful seasons. And the Fall Sports Awards will be on November 25th. The Hawthorne High School Spanish Club and Spanish Honor Society hosted a festival, allowing students and faculty to celebrate Spanish culture through food and music. And she said here, empanadas are always a crowd pleaser. So finally, this year our fall production, which is runs from Thursday, December 5th through Sunday, December 8th, is Clue on Stage. And she writes, Ava writes, the classic board game will be brought to life for the community on December 5th through 8th. Ava, not me, Ava will be playing the French maid alongside the favorite characters such as Colonel Mustard and Miss Scarlet. So just want to mention our play and hope everyone will come out and support our program at the high school. For my report, I'll jump right into my report. A couple of things. First, I want to just mention that I've sent out a couple of times now. I've actually sent 2 email notifications about our second year of participation in the Governor Educator of the Year program. Hopefully, those of you who are parents have received those notifications. Nominations are open right now. If anyone wishes to nominate a teacher or education services professional for the 1920 school year, they can do that. The application information I know was sent out again through the notification. I know Mr. Cunningham sent it out as well through his notification, but those nominations are open for anyone who's interested. I want to thank New Era and Tilcon, New York. They sent, and thanks to Mrs. Pasquale and her efforts, they sent engineers to our STEM class recently. Our students had to create, they created real engineering design ideas that proposed a solution to an unsolved problem. And some of the ideas were things like renewable energy, biodegradable tires, cleaning oil spills in the ocean, things like that. They had to come up with a product. They had to create the product. They used cardboard, and they had to have a triboard with information. So the engineers from those 2 companies, New Era and Tilcon, came to our STEM lab in the morning and afternoon for the classes, and the kids got to share their products, and then the engineers gave them feedback and kind of critiqued their product. So I went in the morning, and Mr. Pasquale, Bob Pasquale, and some of his engineers were there. It was great. It was a great event. Kids really enjoyed it. Actually, Mr. Palouse's daughter was in the class. Mr. Clavijo's son was in one of the classes. I was there. So I think it was a real nice event, and the kids got a chance to present and share their products and get some feedback from engineers. So it was great. So thanks to Mrs. Pasquale for organizing that. Also, I just want to mention that Mrs. Pasquale and Mrs. Aransky, who's a teacher at the high school, presented at the NJEC conference, New Jersey Educational Computing Cooperative. It was at Montclair State University. They presented, Ms. Pasquale presented the eco carton that our STEM students had created, that's the group from last year. And then Mrs. Aransky presented the Raspberry Pi program that we are running at the high school. So we had a chance to present there. We are hoping to present at Texpo in January. We've submitted proposals to present at Texpo, different things, not these same topics, but some different topics. And also the ISTE conference, which is in June. We've sent proposals to present at both of those conferences, which includes things like the roller coaster project that Mrs. Pasquale started, and some of the other things that we're working on our STEM lab. And finally, our STEM capstone students will be presenting in Boston in April. Unfortunately, they can't all go because some of them will be in Italy or Spain on our trips at the high school. But there are definitely 2 students that will be going to Boston in April to share the work that they've created on that SIBA microscope, the app that they're working on. They're going to be presenting in Boston and sharing what they've created. So it's exciting, a lot of exciting things happening right now. And it's really a tribute to Mrs. Pasquale, to all the work that she's done with this STEM program. She's really taken the ball and run with it. So I just want to thank her for that. We'll keep you updated if we are presenting at those other conferences as well. I want to congratulate just again all of our fall sports teams. And again, we'll have our fall sports awards ceremony on Monday, November 25th. And I just want to remind everyone that we have a lot of upcoming events, which includes all of our winter concerts. December 5th at Washington, December 9th at Lincoln, December 11th at Jefferson, December 12th at Roosevelt, December 18th at the high school. Our fall production, December 5th through 8th. Our Treps Marketplace at Roosevelt School is December 16th. And again, all this information is on our website, so a lot of stuff going on in the month of December. And I encourage everybody to check out our website to hopefully you can participate in some of those events. All right, thank you. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Spirito. Abby, curriculum and instruction, please.
Pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the committee on CNI recommends the following resolutions: CI 1 through CI 2 on page 3, CI 3 through CI 12 on page 4, CI 13 through CI 14 on page 5, and CI 49 on page 13 of the addendum. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Palooz?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford? Yes. Mr. Scarra?
Yes.
Mr. Tataro?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
With reservation on CI 10, yes on everything else.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes. Abby, right back to you for personnel, please.
The following resolutions are pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools: P 15 through P 22 on page 5, P 23 through P 34 on page 6, carried on to page 7, P 50 on page 13 of the addendum, P 51 through P 61 on page 14 of the addendum, and P 62 through P 65 on page 15 of the addendum. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Any discussion?
I just want to comment one thing. First of all, apologize for the large addendum tonight. A lot of, you could see on the agenda, a lot of moving parts with staff and things, and we didn't get a lot of it until the last minute. We wanted to make sure we had everything in order, which is why it didn't make it on the agenda. So apologize for that large addendum. I don't usually like to do that, but just a lot of moving parts with leaves and replacements and transfers and things like that. So, oh, Ava, so that's all. I just wanted to comment on that.
All right, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Palooz?
Abstain from P29 and P60. Yes, everything else?
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Abstain from P34, yes on everything else.
Ms. Scarra?
Yes.
Mr. Tataro?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes. You sure? We can do it.
No, I don't care. Whatever's easiest for you.
Okay. All right, we'll move on. All right, Tanya, please, Finance and Administration.
Thank you, Mr. President. Acceptance of donations. We are accepting a donation of $275 from the Hawthorne High School class of 1953 to support the community-based culture of Hawthorne High School. These funds have been processed through the Hawthorne High School internal funds. So thank you to the class of 1953 for that. Action items. Pursuant to the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Committee on Finance and Administration recommends the following resolutions: F35 through F39 on page 7, F40 and A41 on page 8. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Get that.
sorry, A66
Third.
on page 15 of the addendum.
Okay.
Seconded by Mr. Turco. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Scarra?
Yes.
Mr. Tataro?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Palooz?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes. Marco, claims, please.
Yes, in accordance with NJAIC 6A:23-2, 11B, C3, and C4, approval of the November 2019 bill list. It is recommended the board approve the bill list for the month of November 2019.
Second.
Any discussion on the bills? Roll call, please.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Scarra?
Yes.
Mr. Tataro?
Yes.
Mr. Turco?
Yes.
Mr. Clavijo?
Yes.
Ms. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Palooz?
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Trudy, I'd like to make a correction on my vote. I'd like to, yes with reservations on vendor number 2892 and 2875.
I second that too as well, please, thank you. I depend on you, Michael, to
Thank
remind me of that.
You got one on me today, I missed it earlier.
All right, Mike, buildings and grounds.
Thank you, Mr. President. Pursuant to the recommendation of Superintendent of Schools, the Committee of Building and Grounds recommends the following resolution. On page 9, BG 43 through BG 46. Moving on to page 10, BG 47 and 48. On behalf of the committee, I so move.
Seconded by
Second.
Thank you.
Marco. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sierra.
Yes. Thank you.
Because you,
I tell you before and I'm screwing it. Thank you. Yes with reservations on BG 46 and 47. Yes on all of it.
Mr. Tutara.
Yes.
Mr. Turco.
With reservation on BG 46 and 47, yes on everything else.
Mr. Clavijo.
Yes.
Ms. Goff.
Yes.
Mr. Paluce.
Yes.
Mr. Reicher.
Yes.
Ms. Sanford.
Yes.
Mr. Doyle.
Yes. All right, moving on to committee and liaison reports. Alex, you have anything for negotiations?
No, sir.
Okay. Same on referendum, we're status quo until we figure out our
We
plan.
will need to meet soon.
So the committee's gonna be meeting soon.
Yes.
Good enough. Moving on, Abby, please, curriculum and instruction.
CNI committee met on Tuesday, November 12th at 5:30 PM in the evening. It was a rather robust meeting, had a lot on the agenda. The first thing we discussed was an update on guidance programs from Ms. Weigert, who provided us with a spreadsheet of events that I did share with the board. Some of the highlights include a senior planning meeting, which was the first event to kick off in the year. There will be a total of 94 college rep visits by the time the year is over. PSATs took place in October. First step in freshman and sophomore parent program, which is new this year. Coffee with the counselor, which is new this year, which was to be happening the day after our meeting, so that was last Wednesday. The purpose of that was to review Naviance, which is a college and career exploration website, I believe, or some sort of digital situation. Lincoln Tech Career Path Review, which is new. Something will be happening at Lincoln Tech to discuss career paths. There also will be alternating on a rotating basis a college fair and an admissions panel. This year we will be having the admissions panel because last year we had the college fair, and that will be happening in the spring. And we had just brought up in the committee to provide anything that we could to the community in Spanish. We could translate anything and put it up in Spanish, or if Naviance instructions are in Spanish, or anything that we can provide to the community translated. Next, we talked about school visits regarding the one-to-one initiative and the district one-to-one committee, which is part of the referendum. Mr. Sprito created a district-wide committee with people from Lincoln, the high school, as well as Mr. Sprito, Mr. Brislin, and Tamer. Mr. Brislin and Tamer visited schools Ramsey, Pascack Valley, and a few others. The committee is discussing options on creating a Google Doc to share information. They aim to meet monthly. They want to roll this out in September, but ideally the summer would be the time that they would disseminate the computers. We talked briefly about insurance, who would carry the insurance. Mr. Reicher shared his concerns too from his knowledge of doing this in his district as well. Lenovo, Acer, Dell, HP, they're all being considered. We then got an update from Mrs. Robbie on New Jersey tiered system of supports. There are 2 new BSI staff members since the last meeting, and we increased several other staff members' hours. The new BSI teachers were trained on Phonics First, which is a multisensory Orton Gillingham style phonics program. Friday the 15th will be the end of the first RTI cycle. They will need to scale back on the frequency of progress monitoring because they just realized it was too much. They were testing too frequently. So Ms. Robbie provided a revised schedule. They will have a week in between cycles to review data. November 22nd starts the new cycle. They will run a parent meeting sometime in the new year after they have more information under their belt. And then we concluded with Mrs. Pasquale, who gave us a STEM curriculum and update, much of which Mr. Sprito has also already filled you in on as I look. The only thing he did not mention, as I see, is that they finished the 5th grade curricula. I think everything else was said about all the different exposition opportunities. That's all.
Anything for policy?
No, no, sir.
Okay, thank you, Abby. Mr. Palouse, F, CPAC, PTOs, and family engagement, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. President.
Write everything down.
I already forgot what I was gonna say, Lou, sorry. We'll start with CPAC. We're still collecting, the pull tabs. Our goal is 1,000 pounds, if you guys can remember to put those together, bring it to the school, the public library, wherever you can, drop those off. Keep collecting them because we're not gonna give up. We wanna hit 1,000 pounds, whatever, Ronald McDonald House. CPAC would like to thank Mr. Reicher for showing up at their last meeting, and discussing some items with them. And again, it was also part of candidates night. And they also wanted to congratulate all 3 board members that were reelected, so congratulations there. Their next CPAC meeting will be in January 22nd. They're gonna take a little break for the holidays since everybody's so busy. So we'll report again next month for them. Moving on to the Ed Foundation, the Krispy Kreme donut sale is unfortunately over, but you get to pick up your donuts at Lincoln Middle School from 5 to 7 p.m. on November 26th. I'm sure an email will go out to you, but I did just want to bring that to your attention. And tonight, there will be one lucky winner. I don't have a final number on how much their 50-50 is. Unfortunately, we did not hit the goal of the target that we wanted, but I'm gonna guess it's somewhere around 3,600, so maybe around 1,800 will go to one lucky winner. And then the Ed Foundation will have the rest of that money to put into the kiddies and then give back to, the district with all the things that they do. We will move on to PTOs. I have a lot tonight, so bear with me. With Roosevelt School, November 20th is gonna be an all-day give back at El Gallo in town. So if you wanna go get some tacos and support Roosevelt School, please do that. Again, November 20th. A second give back will be on the 26th of November at the Empress Diner in Farrell Lawn. That's evenings only. So again, on the 26th, if you have an opportunity, Empress Diner. They too are having a 50-50. So if you missed the HEF opportunity to win some money and donate, Roosevelt School has a 50-50 going on. I believe that drawing is gonna be December 19th at 7:30. So you can get your prize right before the holidays. You can pay for all your credit cards when they do come in. Also, I think the last thing for Roosevelt School is they're doing a Hawthorne Roosevelt Pride Pura Vida bracelet fundraiser. I think it's $6 for each bracelet, and then $2 2 bracelets for $10. If you can always reach out to me at gmail.com if you have any questions. But if you want to reach directly out to Tony Parisi, it's tparisi716@gmail.com. If you want to buy some bracelets, good stocking stuffers, whatever you might need it for. Moving on to Washington School, they are holding, and I think Mr. Sprito mentioned it, but they are holding their winter concert on December 5th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Their next PTO meeting will be on December 10th from 7:30 to 8:30. And then over to Lincoln Middle School. They are currently installing a sound system through the fundraisers that they have. Is that correct, Mr. Sprito? Is that the?
At Washington School?
No, I'm sorry, Lincoln Middle School.
Lincoln Middle School.
Yes.
CTO, yes.
Right.
It's completed.
It's completed.
It's completed.
Excellent, excellent.
4 hours.
So,
In their gym.
right, so thank you to the Lincoln Middle School PTO for doing that, and improving our sound system over there. Middle school will also be having the Pocketbook Bingo night on Friday night. It is sold out, but it's always been a good event, so I'm glad it's sold out. If you wanna go visit anyway, you just can't participate. I think that's what we have for Lincoln Middle School. Moving over to the high school, November 21st, this Thursday night, 7 to 9 p.m., college planning night for juniors. There is a whole list of 12 or more things that will be covered in that night. So any junior parents, definitely make an opportunity to get there because I think it's a really important, really important night. And then November 25th, we have fall sports awards at the high school, correct?
Correct.
That's gonna be 7 to 9 p.m. That concludes the PTOs, and then I will, we did meet tonight with family engagement. And we basically focused on just preliminary talks about college and non-college bound students. So we're formulating some ideas of educating parents and students that if college is not your choice, then we have to present some things like the trade schools, apprenticeship, maybe entrepreneurial skills, going straight into the workforce when you graduate, or possibly the military. But if you are going to college, we want to help educate on your choices of schools and your career paths, because your career path should be in line with the college or university that you choose to go to. But again, this is preliminary. We will discuss this more and come up with some more ideas. I do want to give a little kudos to Mr. Reicher, because kind of pointed out that we moved personal finance from a freshman requirement to a junior requirement. And it may be a good opportunity for us to kind of tap into understanding your responsibilities moving forward into college with the debt that you're going to accumulate and the career path that you choose. Maybe there's an opportunity for a financial literacy program where they could, work on understanding just what we talked about, the career choices and your potential debt. Again, we'll have more coming in the future. Hopefully, we'll be able to create some tools and some educational information for parents and students alike. And then I will conclude by stating that on the community side, the tree lighting ceremony is going to be at Borough Hall on Friday, December 6th at 6:30 p.m. And it's followed Saturday morning, December 7th, by the 34th Annual Santa Parade, sponsored by the Hawthorne Chamber of Commerce. There will be vendors, food, music, characters, and of course, they encourage you to wear your ugly holiday sweater. So get them out of the closet and come down to the parade. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Captain Palouse. All right, moving on to Buildings and Grounds and New Jersey School Boards. Mike?
Thank you, Mr. President. Buildings and Grounds Committee met last Tuesday, November 12th, and we discussed the following issues. The hot water boiler and the hot water softener system at the high school. The hot water boiler had to be replaced. We were expecting to work on this. It was in our plans, but we had to expedite it since it actually broke down on us. Unfortunately, since the hot water did break down, we had to speed up that process. Scott is still looking into the water softener options. And since Hawthorne, everybody knows that it has such hard water, you know why that happens. So the softener is very important to give a longer life expectancy to the boiler. So we will be reporting on that as we get more information. The water line repair at Jefferson. There was a water main leak was found at the entrance by the pavers at Jefferson School. The pavers had to be removed and the leak was fixed. The work was done during the days that the school was closed. No pavers were damaged during the process that they were replaced, and that's important because a lot of people have their names on it and stuff like that. Lifts. We're working on getting the lifts replaced at the Lincoln Middle School Science Wing. There was been some scheduling issues with the company Handy Lift, who unfortunately is the only game in town, so we're at their disposal. We expect to have the work completed by Thanksgiving, fingers crossed, and then we'll move on to the lifts by the gym. Water barriers at Washington School. This has been something that we've been dealing with for a while, with the concerns of potential flooding in the parking lot area and the back doors by the gym. At Washington School, Scott has installed water barriers. They're with two different doors that will protect water from getting into the school from potential flooding. This was an inexpensive option, and Scott installed it himself on a Saturday. This concludes my report. On New Jersey School Boards, yes, moving on. Okay, I did attend New Jersey School Boards back on October 22nd. I went to a couple of workshops they offered and walked the exhibit floor. So I thought it was, as always, very informative. They have 3.5 full days. If you haven't gone, it's very big and very interesting. I went to two things I'll talk about. They had a workshop on New Jersey Can, and it's very similar to what we use right now as Naviance, but it's a free service from the state. And it gives basically, it will give, it align the education and career path align with your personal goals. So you can use it, it's free. We actually registered already, Rick. There was a name, I don't want to share it now at an open board meeting, but I'll tell you we're registered already.
Okay.
All right. But one thing I liked about this service is that they have a junior version of the service. So if you want to look at, especially when we're doing TREPs, we're doing entrepreneurial stuff, if you want to look at somebody at middle school, now it's a breakdown version of their service, but they can go into it and join the junior service. So it's pretty neat, and they can open up not only to students, but to families and obviously staff and stuff like that.
Okay.
So I got more information on that if you like.
Okay.
Okay. Additionally, I went to the non-college bound learners workshop. This started as a task force that was formed to examine are we adequately preparing our students who are not in college bound or the workforce. Careers have changed and the job market is involved. To stay relevant in public schools, need to offer internships, apprenticeships, and job certifications for many students who decided not to attend a 4-year colleges or university. The task force reported calls for new ways to measure the success of students in schools districts. Instead of ranking the schools by how many of their graduates attend a 4-year schools, the task force says the new ways will be found to recognize schools that prepare students to provide internships, apprenticeships, and information that would prepare the graduates for more than minimum wage jobs. Now, this is important if you realize that the schools are rated based on the students that go to a post-secondary 4-year and 2-year degree. So they're trying to see if they can get that changed because you want to look at the whole child, what's best for the whole child. And maybe that's not always the best choice. It can be, but it's said that the school districts are rated based on that, and people look at that. The task force recognizes that some of the students' traditional college path will still be right way to go for students and should be free to choose the route that best suits them. And that concludes my report for the New Jersey School Boards.
Thanks, Mike.
Oh, can I just add something? I'm sorry. Additionally, I did meet with 2 other people that were out on the exhibit floor. It was not in a workshop form. I met with a representative from the U.S. Army. U.S. Army coordinates with the New Jersey School Boards. I met with, his name was, forgive me, I don't know what his military rank was, but it was Joe Whitmer. I'm not sure it was his rank that he had, but he was nice enough to explain what the military has to offer students, that are looking at to pursue, the next stage of their life, post high school, and he was willing to offer to come in to either meet with the board, with families, with staff about some of the things they have options. They do quite a bit of, they do a lot with iSTEAM right now, the STEAM path. They work with pathways for college, military. You know that if you do join the military, there's a good chance that your entire college can get paid for, if not most of it. So they're willing to do that. Also, I met with, the Chief Business Engagement Officer for New Jersey Office of Apprenticeship, New Jersey Department of Labor and Workforce. And they offered some of the programs that they have available. I tried to reach out to this person after the workshop. I have not been able to do that, but I do have her information on a website. And again, this is related to students looking for their career paths that are out there. And this concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to Finance and Administration. Tanya?
Thank you.
It's on. The Finance Committee met also on Tuesday. We discussed several things, first being the auditor. Our audit is complete on our end. There were no findings or recommendations. All the finances are good. They are just awaiting final numbers from the state before we can close it out. Those numbers, whatever they may be, will not affect our audit whatsoever. We are hoping that the auditor will come to the December meeting and present. We also discussed the closing of the bonds. We were originally estimating a 3.8% rate when we went out for the referendum.
Luckily, thankfully, wonderfully, we came in at a lower rate of 2.728. This now means that we will be saving the taxpayers approximately $2.8 million in interest over the length of the term of the bonds. So that's amazing news. We originally went out and said $82 per household is the average that it's gonna cost. It actually, you know, some years will be more, some years will be less, but it will average out to about $13 less than that per household. So we're very excited about that news. We did discuss hiring a construction manager to manage all the referendum projects. We're looking at 2 companies right now. One came very highly recommended. Obviously, we're going to do our due diligence, check out several companies, but this management company will be in charge of all the construction projects for the referendum. We discussed the budget calendar. We are starting to talk about budgets for next year. Administrators will be meeting regarding their needs, retirements, et cetera. One of the things that was brought up that was, you know, interesting is that we had talked very briefly, obviously, we're not doing budget discussions, but about hiring a social media manager to manage the district's social media accounts so that we have a dedicated person to keep the public informed about what's happening and keep all the parents aware and so on. We did go over the draft of the 2021 calendar. It's expected to be on the December agenda, hopefully for approval. And 2 other quick things we discussed, having a dedicated special education attorney. We're hoping to accomplish that through Fogarty and Hara, who are current lawyers, but somebody dedicated for special education counsel. And we did discuss another potential property for the Bear Cave as our program is growing and we need a little more space. That was our finance meeting. For legislative, there's quite a bunch of stuff that is coming through the pipelines. I'm just going to briefly go over a few things. There were about 6 bills regarding school meal programs. The school district, I guess this has been on the news lately, but a lot of it was talking about students that have school meal plans. Their bills haven't been fulfilled, they're in arrears, they owe money, and I guess different schools handle it differently. Some don't allow the students to get food. I think this is meant to stop that. So a school district is not required to restrict access to meals if a school meal bill is in arrears. It was one of the things that was mentioned. It also prohibits shaming students with bills that are in arrears. It requires school districts to establish a school meal fund for the purpose of accepting donations to help students fund their meal plan. So there's a lot of that kind of stuff being brought to the forefront now. Also, A 4343 requires Board of Education to designate at least 1 individual to serve as a school bus manager or supervisor of driver improvement. This is for the purpose to ensure compliance with state and federal laws, provide safety training. This may be filled by a current employee. No new staff would be necessary for that role. There are also some things coming down through the Senate Judiciary Committee. S 3628 requires districts to adopt an anti-hazing policy at both high school and middle school levels. The Senate Education Committee, A 4147, requires districts to conduct an audit of security features of district buildings, grounds, and communication systems. I think we're well on that path right now, but that's coming down to be required. There's also S 4052 establishes a pilot program for special education students to attend college or vocational schools for classes. So there were also 2 months. April of each year is being designated as Financial Literacy Month, and May of each year is being designated as Youth Smoking Prevention and Awareness Month. So that's what I have in the legislative end.
All righty, thank you very much. Marco, what's going on in the council side?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Not too much information to report, nothing pertinent, but from the November 7th meeting, just wanted to extend congratulations to all the candidates from the election, and especially to our Board of Ed members, Alex Cavillo, Lou Turco, and Bruce Reicher. And that's about it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Lou, anything on Passaic County School Board?
Not necessarily there, and in the words of the Honorable Congressman Adam Schiff, before I do yield my time to Mr. Palouse, I think thank you to my comrade over here, Alex. The recent article about equity versus inequity, PCTI, and Eastside. There's a group from Patterson that toured both schools. Being as passionate as I am about about this issue, I did respond to the author, as well as the editor of the Bergen Record, about the article. I, of course, did not hear anything back, but I just felt I had to because of what was written. As far as school boards is concerned, I also attended. And the one thing I want to mention to all of you, I did hear the keynote speaker, who was Ian Hockley. Ian Hockley was a gentleman who was a parent of a child who lost his life at Sandy Hook. Ian worked for IBM, was transferred here, lived in Connecticut, and of course, I won't go into great detail of his story, but he and his family were met with this tragedy. And out of this tragedy came something called Dylan's Wings of Change is the foundation. And the program that came out of it is a program called Wingman. It's in about 200 schools right now in New Jersey alone. It's expanding throughout Connecticut, New York, etc. And the purpose of the program, Dylan, who lost his life, was a first grader who had the combined issue of being diagnosed with autism at the age of 3, but also because of his speech with the English brogue, he had an issue communicating with children. After the shooting occurred, the family took a 7 or 10-day hiatus, and when they came back, they learned that the actual shooter, I don't remember their address, let's call it Hawthorne Avenue. The Hockleys lived at 36. The shooter actually lived at 39. So they moved within a month or two. But the shooter actually had issues himself growing up, acceptance, etc. So Mr. Hockley, along with many others, came up with this program called Wingman, partly because of their son and the issues that he had, and partly because of the shooter. And it's basically a program of peer support, high school seniors to sophomores and freshmen, 8th graders to 6th and 7th graders, and so on down the line. And they're pushing it throughout the state. So, I mean, it really, it impressed the heck out of me. If you ever want to look into it.
Yeah, I just recently heard about it.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was unbelievable to listen to. So with that being said, I will yield my time to Mr. Palouse.
Thank you, Mr. Turco.
You're welcome.
We did attend the Passaic County meeting this month. Mr. Sciarra, Mr. Reichert, and myself. There were some good speakers. Dr. Feinstein, he touched base on, again, what everybody seems to be talking about now, non-college bound options. And we also had another speaker, which I think Mr. Reichert and Mr. Sciarra might want to share some of their thoughts on the program.
We did, the first thing, just to elaborate on what Mr. Bruce was saying, again, this was a non-college bound learners task force that Dan Sinclair, the former president of the New Jersey School Boards, heads up. That was part of that, and as I mentioned earlier in my report from New Jersey School Boards, I already went to their workshop. He shared a little bit more about that at this Passaic County meeting, and it's actually a video that can be found with the task force reports on New Jersey School Board's website. Additionally, there was another report that was presented by the Executive Director of New Jersey School Boards, Dr. Lawrence Fensad. He discussed the Mental Health Service Task Force, focusing on mental health service intervention strategies on students' health and wellness. And along with the video that we saw with this, and this is also going to be found on the website, but it was pretty jarring what we saw. Just based on some of the slides that they had, I'll share with the board. their need for action, they called it, and there's 16% of the students have seriously considered suicide. 12% of children and 25% of teens are contending with diagnosis of anxiety disorder. 20% of students between the ages of 13 and 18 live with mental health disorder. And 50% of students ages 8 to 15 who have diagnosed mental illness have not received mental health services the previous year. One of the more scary things that was said was that over the last 2 years, it was a 2-year period, that they had 199 deaths graded to suicide from students 10 to 24. They're pretty scary numbers. Interesting, I believe what Mr. Turk was talking about, the wingman was part of that video presentation.
Oh, really?
I think it was on the end of it, because I saw it, I believe that's where I saw it, that would only make sense. Again, you guys can view it, everybody's welcome to view it on the New Jersey School Board's website. It has the whole report with the video. I know we're doing some phenomenal work, internally here in our task force with Jason Wood and also Care Plus. This might give us some additional ideas, so it might be worthwhile at least, hey, what are some other ideas? Because it's pretty scary out there. And with that, I yield my time to Mr. Reich to talk about the third subject.
All right, the third speaker, who was very, very good.
Am I getting impeached?
Susan Marinero from Montville Township Schools. She's actually a part-time person there, but they brought her in, she was a marketing person to build a brand in the district. And I wonder if this I wasn't in the finance meeting, but coincide with the person who could do our social media and marketing. She really got into like why you would build a brand. They had 8 different schools in their district. They had 8 different logos, 8 different sayings, 8 different everything. So she kind of came in and brought it all together, and interestingly enough, just created a committee, and the committee took a whole year, people from the community, marketing people, they had kids on the committee, everyone, to be like, what would we want, Montville schools to look like? Branding, she said, was important. It will enhance the identity and improve communication. And then at the end showed they brought somebody in who actually designed a logo for their district and a logo for all of the schools that all matched each other. So they were able to keep their, being individual, but at the same time, they were all part, of a bigger district. And she even got into, they had logos, if there were 7 or 8 schools, there were 7 or 8 different logos, and just try to make everything a little bit more uniform. We're a little bit smaller than them, so I think some of these things we have already of it being uniform. And she really got into saying how you can represent things visually, that people will recognize your brand, that 80% of people are like visual learners, that the more logos that were consistent they can come up with, they all gave the same message. And in this particular district, I think there were 3 different towns that went to this regional high school, so everybody would feel represented. And then they had a cool video that showed the person who created the logo actually did a quick video of how they created the logo, and then showing the logo at the end, so everybody would understand exactly what it was. And she was good. I'm looking at it now, a little more comprehensive than I would do. She had about 70 slides in her slideshow, but she showed pictures of all of these things, and it was really good, and something for us to consider if we ever want to bring in a marketing person or something, maybe with the social media, and even coming up with a hashtag for the district, so like things would be posted all under one place. I think that was the point of the branding. So when you see this logo, everyone thinks about the same thing, all the positive things going on in the schools. And I'm going to give my time to
You conclude the report.
That's the end of our report, Mr. President.
Okay, I think that concludes all our committee reports. Public be heard. Nothing, Sally? All right, seeing no one, we're gonna move on to general comments and questions from the board related to the school district. We'll start over with you, Abby.
I'm good.
Okay, Marco?
Good.
Mike?
Yeah, I have something. There was the meeting that Christine Wiggett and I can't think of her name. It used to be Christine McConnell.
Christine Zach?
Zach, they put on. It was very good. Mr. Plus and you and Mr. Reicher were both there too. I thought it was phenomenal. I love the idea that the guidance department is doing, really reaching out. One thing I think might help, and I'm going to emphasize this one more time, is I might be beating a dead drum here, but I thought it was a perfect opportunity for us to take advantage of videoing it for the parents that didn't make it. It was our staff. We're not having an outside person that we had to get approval from. And I'm hoping that we can look at when we do some of these presentations to take advantage of that, because then it's memorialized. We can keep it on our website, direct people, hey, go look at it. They did such a nice job. I know in talking with both Mr. Plus and Mr. Reicher, there was some type of an agreement. I don't want to speak for them, but when I was talking to them that night, I hope we can just think about that as we go on. Things that we do so many great things, and parents have scheduling conflicts or whatever the case may be. If we memorialize it and we can put it on a point where they're looking, hey, whatever happened to this, you can just direct them right to the, and it's there for good. So that would be my one comment.
Just to add to what Ms. Guerra was talking about, actually in curriculum instruction, because we did get a report from the guidance department, one of the things that was brought up, and they said they're actually starting to do already, is Mrs. Zach starting to make short little video screencasts of how to log into certain things, how you can view certain things in like little 2 or 3 minute videos. And in light of the one-to-one Chromebook initiative that's going to happen, then all students will be able to open up their Chromebook along with parents too, but get all the information in quick little. They have all the PowerPoints or Google slideshows done. Just add a voiceover to it and do like a little screencast that you'd be able to get that information. And they were totally on board when, like it was brought up in CNI, that they're like, yeah, it's good. We're starting to do it, and we want to do more of that, for students. And that's the only thing I had.
Okay. Ava, I just want to give you an opportunity if you want to, only because you didn't get to give your report. No, don't. Is there anything you'd like to share with us? Anything you want to pass on?
Not really.
How about how many pancakes did you have on Saturday?
I only have 3, but we did have a really good turnout for our fundraiser for the class of 21. We were trying to fundraise using pancakes, and Mr. Doyle was there helping along with my father and a bunch of other parents. This month we did have for the peer leaders a workshop with, her name was Miss Finch, but I know she got married.
Yes.
The Care Plus coordinator.
Correct.
And a couple members of the Stigma Free program here. So we got a nice little workshop. We talked about stress relief, suicide, a nice awareness workshop. So that was very helpful, I think. It's always good to bring light to those issues. I play practice right after this. The show is coming up. I encourage everybody to go out and see it. It's Clue on stage. I know if you guys are familiar with the board game, I'm really excited.
They didn't come out to the 60s, I think. I don't remember that.
Colonel Mustard, Miss Scarlet, I don't know. I'm very excited. Trying to think what else. We have the blood drive tomorrow, I believe. Yes, tomorrow. No, Thursday. Thursday. We have the blood drive, so that's a very unique opportunity for us to get to help in a different way. Juniors and seniors are able to donate. I will be working the table. And yeah, that's all I really have.
What part are you in Clue?
I'm the French maid.
Ah, very good.
Yes, I do an accent and everything. I'm not going to do it right now. If you want to go see it, come to the show. And my costume and everything is very funny. I'm excited. It's going very well.
Good.
November was busy. Anything else?
Awesome. All right, thanks for the comments. Alex, anything?
Sure. I just want to take the opportunity and thank all the voters that voted that vote of confidence. It's a great team to be part of. The momentum that's taking place is just it's a treat. Also, your fellow board members, thank you for the support, and looking forward to another awesome 3 years. I do have a couple comments. I had the opportunity of sitting in on the sale of the bonds with Mr. Palouse, and we were fortunate that the market is where it's at. So rates were you know, a lot better than when we went out. But it wasn't just based on that. They actually provided a, whatchamacallit, they give you the criteria as to what gives you a better rate. And part of it, and one of the biggest ones is the rating that the district has. Our rating went up, and that's not something that happens overnight. That's actually, you know, a work in progress for the last couple of years. So I think, you know, credit should be given there for that, you know, the progress from that end. When we had the auditors in presenting to the finance committee, I did ask, one of the questions that I had was, what else could we do to improve our rating? And basically from our end, we, you know, the administration we've done what we can. So it's just about maintaining what we have, and eventually that will improve. There are other factors with the municipality, the borough that you're part of, but that's outside of our control. So, you know, again, kudos for that. I think the coffee and counselor, it's a fantastic idea. I didn't get a chance to come out to it, but, you know, that sounds like we're a step in the right direction. And I did have two questions. One of them was on the Lincoln Tech. What is it that they're gonna do? I mean, I think it's great, but just wanted more.
Yeah, so the way she explained, I don't have a lot of information. I can just tell you that it just says Lincoln Tech Institute. They're talking about career paths. There's presentations to juniors and seniors, and it was also presented to freshmen during the PSAT administration. But I think they're just gonna come in and talk about career paths for our juniors and seniors at the high school. I don't know, I ever read part of that at all or no?
For what?
Lincoln Tech? No.
No.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. But that, again, I don't have a lot of information on that. That's basically what I have, what she shared. I could get more information if you're interested.
And that would serve as the non-college bound, right?
Correct.
That's what it is. So awesome. We're on the right track with that. The other one was about the Chromebooks and the insurance. Is that something that we're gonna do, or we're gonna consider doing?
So, no, the discussion, so in the districts that we visited, it's handled differently in each district. In certain districts, that cost the parents are asked to pick up that cost. In other districts, the district picks it up. So it's just a conversation that we're having in regard to our plans going forward. It's just part of a much larger discussion. That's one little piece of, there's so much to consider. You know, once you start diving into this, you realize how much, you know, people think you just buy devices and hand them out to the kids. And there's so much more to it than that. But that was one piece of this committee that we've been talking about, and kind of getting some feedback on how other districts are handling it.
But they will be insured.
They absolutely, oh, no, they will be insured.
Yeah, that was made.
That's a fact,
Just
yes.
The funding for it.
Just how it will be funded,
Got it.
that's really more of the discussion.
It can be expensive.
Yes.
As we do in Northville, the parents do pay, but maybe a combination of
We're discussing all of it.
district contributing and balanced parents, you know, could be a way to go, because it gets expensive.
Yeah.
I think it's $25 or $30.
Yeah, there's also varying types.
Depends
of
on the
insurance,
device.
like
Yeah, right.
Yes, correct.
Just, you know, you can get a minimal coverage, you can get a
Right,
three-year coverage,
right,
which is
right.
cheaper.
That's all the stuff that we're talking about. That's just part of the,
Got it. But it'll definitely be.
oh, without
Yeah.
question, without question.
Good.
Okay, thank you.
Lou, anything? No, I was just gonna comment, but make light of everything going on in the country, but.
No yielding? You're not yielding?
No, I'm gonna yield, but is that all you say about the rates and everything, or, anyway, go ahead.
Anya?
I have just two quick things, and I think my third thing is a new business item, but I just wanted to congratulate
Oh, yes.
our board members for their reelection, and I look forward to working with you for another few years while I'm here at least. And also, I'm just super excited. I think it was a great idea to have Anthony talk about all the PTO stuff, because there are things happening in other schools, and even in some of my own schools that I wasn't aware of, so I'm glad that was added to our.
I will actually, give kudos over to Abby for encouraging
Great
me.
idea.
About a year and a half ago, I did start to reach out. It didn't really go the way as planned, but when I reached out this time, I got a lot of positive feedback. People are excited about having that dialogue. And I think it's something that I can bring back to them. Once we do start projects and we know things are gonna happen in certain schools, I can actually let the PTO presidents know, and then they can share, so people are aware that things are gonna happen. Twofold, right? You know that things are gonna start happening, you might be inconvenienced a little bit, but also the excitement of knowing things are gonna get taken care of in your school. So Yeah, I'm looking forward to it, thank you for.
Yeah, that was great, thank you.
Okay.
Okay, your turn.
The bond. I was with Alex, it was pretty interesting, and it's something that we can't anticipate happening. We got lucky, $2.8 million is a huge savings, but when you're building a budget or going out for a referendum, you know, Trudy's gotta have the task of estimating what you think it's gonna be. So, very happy that it went in the right direction, because it could have, you know, obviously went the other way, which would have hurt the amount of money that we had to do our project. So I just want to thank Ms. Engel, Mr. Sprito, Mr. Chamberlain, and everybody else that was involved with that long, ongoing process, and looking forward to the great things that are going to happen with that money. I also want to just mention what Alex mentioned, coffee, you weren't able to make it with the coffee and the counselors. It was like a follow-up to the night before for freshmen and sophomore parents. And it was interesting because they got to kind of show us slides of what Naviance is. I've never seen it before. I just got my password. I'm looking forward to kind of logging in and, you know, helping both my kids, because I have a sophomore and a freshman. So I thought that was a great opportunity. I look forward to continuing to grow things that we are doing here in the district. It's awesome. So thank you for that. Just really quick on the water softener. I know you mentioned that it's there to save the life of the hot water heater. And I think I mentioned it last meeting as well. It's gonna save the life of everything that water runs through. So it's really a huge investment. The life expectancy of everything in the school, it lasts longer. It's a savings. It's an upfront cost, but a long-term savings. So I just kind of wanted to point that out. And then last but not least, I just got an update, and I am proud to say that we actually raised $4,200. $2,100 went to somebody who does not live in town, but she was a graduate of 1985 from Hawthorne High School. And she was nice enough, I posted it on Facebook with a link, and I had a lot of people buying, and I'm proud to say that she won $2,100. It's a nice Christmas gift, so. Unfortunately, everybody who didn't win, sorry, but
Very upset.
$2,100 for HEF is a great opportunity.
Is that, I want to know if that's breaking news.
That's breaking news.
It's not fake news, it's breaking.
It's-
No, hey,
That was
you're
that was a cusp of turning old news into new news and then moving back the other way.
What a segue.
Sorry, Mr. President.
All good. All right, so real quick, I also join in congratulating my fellow board members, Lou, Alex, Bruce. Congratulations on being reelected. That's fantastic, another 3 years. I also want to talk about and add to what the captain was saying over there about the bonds and what Tanya mentioned about $2.8 million additional savings on interest. I mean, I think that's fantastic. I think that's very important that we share that with the community. It's super, super positive. Luck did figure into it, as you say, with the rates. The fact that we've been working very hard cumulatively to improve the district's rating and everything we can do. But it also attributes to our staff, Trudy, Mr. Sprito, you know, being conservative. You know, and that's a trend that we've seen in the last couple of years with this board, where we would rather plan for the worst and hope for the best, okay? And when the best comes in, this is what happens, all right? So, I mean, again, it's not to pat ourselves on the back, but we can pat ourselves on the back every once in a while because it works for us, all right? So thank you again for all that, all right? All right, we're gonna move on to new business. We'll start with you, Mr. Palouse.
Have 50-50's over. That's all I have to say.
So I have something, continuing on with this conversation with what Mike said about the, suicide rates and emotional health, and with what Lou said about the Wingman program. I was approached by a parent in our district who is a licensed counselor, psychotherapist, I have all her info. She sent a proposal today. She does a program for school districts about bullying, and it's for staff. Just how to deal with it, how to recognize it, things like that. It's a very minimal cost. She forwarded the proposal over. I thought maybe, I don't know, if a professional development seminar, like something during a professional development session would warrant something like that, but I'm gonna forward it over to you to take a look at.
Yeah, forward to me.
But I just thought I'd bring it up, and
Sure.
since it seems to be, a conversation that's more out tonight, but, it's still very important and is always at our
Absolutely.
top of our list.
Yeah,
so
forward to me.
I will.
Thank you.
growing problem, unfortunately.
unfortunately,
Yeah.
and younger.
Good. Lou, anything?
I'm good, thank you.
Alex?
Not school related, but just want to congratulate our president on his promotion to lieutenant.
Ah, yes,
Oh, that's
Thank you
great.
very much, I appreciate that.
congratulations.
That's it? Mr. Spear, yeah?
No, sir.
No? Bruce?
I don't know if this is old news, breaking, whatever this is, but a couple of things. Any discussion with the Chromebooks when we get into it too, and my school district had done this 3 years ago. When you're buying a big lot of Chromebooks, like in my own school district, they bought 900 in one shot. Then a lot of times the insurance rate or the insurance you get with it or the software you get with it, when you're buying it for 900 computers instead of just your own computer or 20 computers, they tend to give you, pretty good deals. And then I have, I guess it's a public service announcement, it's not breaking news, but I would highly tell everybody this, one of my daughters happened to that the credit she took in high school actually counted of where she's going to college. So as many courses as you could take in the high school, AP courses, honors courses, these were through Fairleigh Dickinson and Seton Hall, but I know
Dual
we're-
enrollment, the dual enrollment.
the
courses.
dual enrollment courses, but I know we're even expanding,
Yes.
to some of the Passaic, community college ones.
Correct.
Like if you can encourage your kids to do those, not only are they great courses, but in the long run, there's no guarantee, but it could possibly save you a lot of money if they accept those credits, which colleges don't have to do, but from what my daughter was telling me, most of the kids that went to Hawthorne High School, their credits did get accepted in all these different schools that they went to. So, I wish she honestly took more than 2 now, but, whatever, if your kids are younger, get them into those courses that could be dual enrollment courses. They're great classes and could save you a couple bucks. That's my public service announcement for tonight. I'm done.
Mike, any new business?
Yeah, I do. First, I want to get this out of the way, and because I forgot it before, I do want to congratulate Lou, Alex, and Bruce. I know you had a hard-fought campaign, got a lot of people out. You guys did it, congratulations. I also want to wish Lou Turco a happy birthday,
Thank you.
and also congratulate
You're very old.
our president for his promotion to
Thank you, Mike.
lieutenant.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, you look good up there in the Facebook pictures, I gotta say that. All right, and beyond that, the one thing I do want to mention that is under new business, because we talked about it this evening, was the social media person. I know we had that conversations back in family engagement a few months ago, and to hear that it came back up in another committee, that's good to hear. Especially, we just came back from the Passaic County School Board meeting, and they had somebody with branding. We looked at what we just went through with our referendum, and having having a social media person. I mean, we happen to use our architect's version of that. You see how helpful it was. We all say, hey, we want to get the word out. We want to get people to know what we're doing. It's just phenomenal, and I think we should really look into it and see what avenues are involved. I know Mr. Rice, you said you might have you come across with a program and.
No, well, we mentioned the app at one point in the family engagement, I think. Aptigee, whatever the name of that company was.
Yes.
There's a lot of different companies that do it, but basically, and I think Frank Massinio's company did it for the referendum, like, just have somebody aggregate our message, so one message is sent out, and it's sent out Snapchat, Twitter, Facebook, all these different places, and, if a person's doing it and that's their job, we're also like in the school district, they do a great job of it, but it's all above and beyond if we happen to be at events and take pictures and post them. There are companies that could do it, and possibly to look into that if we don't get a person whose job it's going to be here, have someone from the outside, and we'll have to look at costs and the whole thing, but I agree that it would be helpful.
And I do think it's a little much to put on the superintendent who's been trying to manage it now. It's a lot, and it's not fair if you just put another hat on, that. So we have to look at it and see what the cost is involved to fund it, because I think it's well worth an investment. I say that without knowing what the cost is going to be, but I think we really seriously have to look at it and what would work and what you're comfortable with, because you would actually have some oversight on that for us. But that's it. Thank you.
Marco?
Congratulations again, to yourself,
Thank you.
board members, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Lou. And That's it for me, thank you.
Abby, any new business?
Pardon my lack of knowledge in this one particular area, but the $2.8 million that will be saved, how will that be actualized? And will it just not charge the taxpayers? Is it a refund to the taxpayers?
Gotcha.
So over the course of the 20 years, the average home, they'll see a reduction of $13 a year.
Versus what we originally told them.
Okay.
Some years will be more.
It's over the average.
over the aggregate of the.
Right. Some certain years, the first couple of years are quite a bit more.
Correct.
But on average, it's about $13 less than what we originally
That's great.
advertised.
So I do echo Mike's sentiment that that does need to be really shared as much as we can with the public.
That's a great thing.
It's a great thing. And I will also share, to touch on the point of the insurance, I brought it up because my school just went one-to-one, Bruce's school went one-to-one within recent years. And when I brought it up, just bringing it up to talk about, I think they need to be insured, Mr. Sprito said, and rightfully so, we just asked the taxpayers for all of this money for the referendum. So we don't necessarily feel right about asking them for the initial year to pay the insurance. So now it just becomes a balancing act of, how do we figure out how to pay for it? We know we've asked for a lot. So that's sort of answering your question, why we are even considering trying to pick up the tab, because we know we've asked for a lot, and they gave us a lot. So, we'll continue the discussion.
Mike, could I add something real quick?
Sure.
In regards to the social media, maybe, you know, like the Burview, I think that's the name of that company, right? They the majority of our events are already pre-scheduled, so maybe it could even be like a stipend, like what Mr. Reicher was saying. And everybody else that has access to it, it's above and beyond if you're an event. I mean, you're just complimenting it at that point. But we already know, for the most part, what that calendar looks like. A stipend, somebody sits there 3-4 hours, whatever it takes, and they build, you know, you can build it out for the future at that point.
If I can add to that,
Oh, go.
go ahead.
The other possibility too is that they actually do this at High Point High School, is they actually, I think it's a club, I don't think it's a course, but next year I'm actually in my own school gonna teach it as a course, to have like an ambassador club course, and in the course they teach them digital citizenship, digital leadership, and the kids are the ones who actually go take the pictures and still send it to an adult to have it posted. But High Point High School, I think they have like 20, 30 kids in a club that's called like the Ambassador, Social Media Ambassador Club. And because they're at a lot of the events, then, and it's also free, they're in it, you know, as a club, you know, they can create the content for it. And it was actually in an article in it was either NJEA or the school board's one, I think in NJA magazine, like talking about how they taught the kids digital citizenship, but then even better, then they were able to go out and apply it like in their own school and become like social media ambassadors, you know, in their own school. So good thing while teaching them how to do it, but also actually putting it into practice besides just learning the do's and don'ts, actually, you know, branding their school and doing those different things. We're part of the club.
Well, since it was NJEA magazine, then maybe we can add another club to our contract.
I'm passing to Marco right now.
Along the lines of what Alex mentioned, I think that would be a great idea with the stipend idea. However, I also think it would be important to not just provide content regarding the different events in the school, but maybe even a way to share with the public the progress of the work that we perform through the referendum. So, just wanted to throw that out.
That's a good idea.
Mr. Sprito,
Mm-hmm.
do we currently have any sort of marketing class at the high school?
We do.
So maybe there's a way to build it into a current existing class as extra credit assignments, as part of their coursework.
Okay.
The other referendum thing too, which would be very helpful, is I was actually working for Wyckoff Public Schools when they passed the referendum, and they just posted pictures, like anything that was done. It wasn't even big captions or videos. It was just like, here's a picture of what we built now, the new STEM lab. Here's the new library, and before and after pictures so people could see. And you know, we know from our own referendum, the pictures and videos are worth 1,000 words. But it wasn't so much even, you know, posting it all in words. It was just, you could go on and see their daily progress of whatever construction, you know, was happening. And they immediately, I mean, I'm sure the public saw it too there, but it was for like the students. So the kids could actually see there, like, this is what our media center will look like, and compare the new one to the old one.
I'm only doing it out of personal use myself. I do it, I work during the day, so to be able to see some of the content, even from my children's teachers, that visual to me speaks 1,000 words, and I think that the same would apply for any other items, as well as reference updates and what actually is progressing through the district. So I think it's a great idea.
So, just to add to that, and then we can move on, but what happens a lot, we start Facebook pages for all sorts of events. Well, don't forget, we have a referendum Facebook page, so we already have the bones, so we can just keep building, right? We just build upon it. So that's one thing that's there, and we can just continue to expand upon. Abby, we're gonna come right back to you for old business.
I'm good, thank you.
Marco? Mike?
Question, Mr. Frito. In regards to, previously, I know we have a change in our broadcasting personnel.
Yes.
And I know they used to do the morning announcements and video, and I know there might be a reason why that changed, and is it something that they can look into?
So what they started doing, I think they just started this past week, they
We tried to
record,
live stream it.
yeah, they created something in class, and they're not doing it like they used to do it in terms of prior to, because the problem with the way they used to do it, not that it's a problem, but the old teacher, they would come in prior to the school day with students, and they, you have to set up, and they run a live morning show.
Sure.
They're now working in class, they're working to create like a morning show type of event and
Okay.
showing it, right? And they just, matter of fact, was it this week, or was it last week or this week?
I believe it was the beginning of last week.
Beginning
we
of
tried to
last
live
week.
stream it.
So they're trying to work toward that with the new.
So
teacher.
nothing's been broadcast yet?
Again, they're not doing it exactly the same way the old teacher did.
Okay.
And there are reasons, specific reasons.
Right, and I'm sure there are, just,
Yeah.
it was something that was nice, and it was a nice touch.
Yes.
You know.
So they're working towards something similar, but not exactly the same.
I got you. Okay, thank you.
If I can just comment on that, middle school, Ms. Dever, I think it's Ms. Dever that puts it together. I thought that's fantastic, and I believe she continues to do it. Every day she puts out the announcements up on the website, right? So even though your kids don't tell you about it or you don't see it, she posted it daily, and that was a wealth of information that she did. So I don't know if it could happen at the high school level, and I think it came up at the PTO meeting, but that's a fantastic resource there.
Bruce, anything?
No. Thank you.
Alex, anything else?
Yes, sir.
Lou? Tanya?
No, I'm good, thank you.
Anthony? Nothing else? All right, I'm gonna make a motion to go into private.
Motion.
Seconded by? Captain?
Oh, man, you had happy Thanksgiving. That was all yours.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Karen?
One job.
Yeah.
Mr. Kirkland?
Yes.
Mr. Pavijo?
Yes.
Ms.
The
Powell?
caboose, yes, the caboose always wishes happy Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Mr. Reicher?
Yes.
Ms. Sanford?
Yes.
Mr. Scarra?
Yes.
Mr. Doyle?
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.